Have you ever looked at your money and wondered why it feels like nothing is moving? You save, invest, stay consistent, yet your balance barely shifts. It's not a mistake. It's not that compounding isn't working. It's that wealth follows a rhythm no one explains, slow and almost silent in the beginning, confusing in the middle, and shockingly fast once the curve finally lifts. Today, I'll show you a simple framework that reveals why the early years feel stuck and where the real acceleration truly begins. I call it the 8-4-3 compounding rule. And once you see it, everything clicks. Daniela was 34 when she decided she was tired of feeling behind. No inheritance, no shortcuts, just a steady job and a quiet hope that compounding would eventually help her catch up. She invested every month, stayed consistent, barely checked her account. After 8 years, she expected progress. Instead, her balance looked flat, heavy, almost embarrassing. "How can 8 years look like this?" she whispered. She wasn't wrong or unlucky. She was simply standing inside the first stage of compounding, the invisible years where the growth is real but the numbers feel meaningless. What she didn't know was that the curve has stages, and the moment it lifts, changes everything. Today, we'll walk through that rhythm and how to survive it. And Daniela's experience raises a question most people never ask themselves. What exactly happens in the early years of compounding, and why do they feel so painfully slow? Let's begin with the stage I call the 8 invisible years. The first 8 years of compounding are the hardest because they challenge your expectations, not your math. You contribute consistently, follow the rules, avoid emotional decisions, and yet your balance grows at a pace that feels almost disrespectful to your effort. These years don't reward enthusiasm or discipline. Instead, they require a psychological shift, understanding that compounding hides its strength behind time. In these early years, the majority of your growth comes from your contributions, not the returns on those contributions. It creates the illusion that your money isn't working, when in reality, it simply doesn't have enough weight to move. This is where most people give up. They pause contributions, chase something faster, or withdraw their money entirely because the numbers feel underwhelming. But the invisibility of these 8 years is not a flaw of compounding. It's the foundation. Every contribution is building the base that future growth will stand on. And even though you can't feel it, every month is quietly shortening the distance between flatness and momentum. These early years shape your habits, your consistency, and your relationship with delayed gratification. But if the first 8 years feel invisible, something begins to shift right after them, a stage that quietly changes how your money behaves. The middle 4 years. After the invisible phase, something subtle begins to shift. Your contributions no longer feel like the sole engine of your growth. You begin to notice that the returns, while still modest, are starting to stack on top of each other. This is the middle 4-year period, the stage where compounding transitions from invisible to noticeable. It's not dramatic yet, it's not exponential, but it's different. For the first time, you feel like the system is collaborating with you rather than resisting you. These years are fragile because momentum is forming but not strong enough to survive emotional decisions. It's easy to look around and compare yourself to someone who seems to be growing faster. It's easy to feel like you've wasted time because the lift you imagined still isn't here. But these 4 years are exactly where trust deepens. Your money begins to grow from both your contributions and the returns on past returns. It's here that you realize compounding is not about speed, it's about cumulative weight. And when you maintain consistency through this phase, incremental increases each year, diversified allocation, and emotional discipline, you give your curve the space it needs to prepare for the final stage. The middle 4 years reward the quiet habits you built earlier. They remind you that wealth is not linear and that progress often shows up suddenly after years of silence. Staying steady in this stage is essential because what comes next is the moment compounding becomes visible, undeniable, and powerful. And once you make it through that middle stretch, something remarkable happens, something most people never stay long enough to experience: the acceleration phase, also known as the final 3 years. Before we continue, this video is part 1 of our new compounding series. A step-by-step journey designed to help you understand why your money feels slow and how to build real wealth as an adult. And if you're not subscribed yet, I invite you to join us so you don't miss part 2. Now let's move into the final 3 years of the 843 compounding rule. These last 3 years are where compounding reveals its true nature. Everything you've been building, every contribution, every reinvested return, every disciplined decision, suddenly forms a curve that bends upward. This is the phase most people never experience, not because they lack intelligence or opportunity, but because they abandoned the process during the years that felt stagnant. The final 3 years feel almost unfair in how quickly numbers climb. Your portfolio grows at a pace that no longer matches your contributions. A single year in this stage can add more to your net worth than the first 8 years combined. But this acceleration isn't magic, it's math. Magnified by consistency, it's the compounding effect finally operating at full weight. These years also transform your mindset. You begin to understand why wealthy people talk about patience and why they don't obsess over volatility or temporary market noise. They know what the final years feel like. They know how the curve behaves after momentum compounds on itself. This stage changes how you view your time, your habits, and your definition of enough. But to experience it, you must protect the structure that got you here. Automated contributions, diversified exposure, emotional discipline, and awareness of the psychological traps. The acceleration stage is the reward for the years when nothing made sense. It's the payoff for the discomfort you endured earlier. And once you see this momentum for yourself, you never look at slow progress the same way again. But here's the truth that hurts. Very few people ever reach this acceleration stage, and the reasons why might surprise you. The tragedy of compounding is not that it takes long. It's that most people leave right before it becomes meaningful. The first 8 years feel too slow. The next 4 feel too subtle. And by the time the curve is preparing to accelerate, they've already convinced themselves it doesn't work. This pattern repeats across generations because our brains aren't wired for delayed, invisible rewards. We want to feel progress. We want to see results. When we don't, we assume something is broken. But the problem isn't the math, it's the expectation. Most people underestimate how flat the early curve is supposed to be. They think their experience is unique, when in reality they are living the exact pattern every compounding journey follows. The second reason many people never reach acceleration is inconsistency. Even small interruptions, pausing contributions during stress, withdrawing money after volatility, chasing faster returns, reset the compounding engine at the worst possible time. Each interruption not only slows progress, it extends the flat years, and the third reason is emotional comparison. When you see someone else making faster progress, you believe their strategy is superior. But what you're actually seeing is someone further along on their curve, someone who survived the same flat years you're in now. The difference is not intelligence, it's endurance. When you understand that the curve is supposed to feel slow, supposed to feel invisible, supposed to test your patience, you begin to approach money with clarity instead of urgency. And that clarity is what carries you into the years where acceleration finally appears. And this is exactly why structure matters, because without it, even the most disciplined investors get lost during the flat years. The early stages of compounding are hardest, not because of the numbers, but because of the psychology. When your progress feels invisible, your mind becomes the biggest threat to your long-term results. And that's why we are building the Trip to Wealth Command Center, a simple Google Sheets system to help give you visual and clarity when your emotions tell you nothing is working. When you track your net worth, your contributions, and your progress over time in one place, you begin to see patterns that your emotions can't detect. Even if the growth is small, the upward direction is visible. That visibility protects you from discouragement. It turns invisible progress into measurable progress. Another critical part of surviving the flat years is understanding where your money is leaking. The tool shows you exactly how small decisions either accelerate or slow your compounding engine. A slight increase in savings rate each year, a reduction in lifestyle creep, or redirecting bonuses into investments can completely change your trajectory. Remember, you can't improve what you can't see, and most people never reach the acceleration stage because they never track their behavior long enough to understand how powerful consistency really is. This tool gives you a long-term lens. It grounds you emotionally. It shows you the consequences of giving up too soon. And when you see the curve moving, no matter how slowly, you build the patience required to survive the years when compounding feels stuck. Structure creates clarity, and clarity creates endurance. You can join the early access waitlist below and lock in an exclusive discount. By the way, if you're enjoying the video so far and want more topics like this, comment the word Part 2 down below. All right, once you have that structure, the next step is understanding why this rhythm isn't theoretical. It mirrors how real markets behave. The 8-4-3 rule isn't a motivational idea. It reflects how real markets behave across decades. In the first stage, the 8-year flat period occurs because early contributions dominate your portfolio. Markets fluctuate, but the effect is small because your invested capital is still small. Even strong returns barely shift the needle simply because the base is light. It's like pushing a bicycle versus pushing a truck. The same force produces dramatically different outcomes depending on the weight behind it. The middle 4 years represent the period where your base finally has enough mass to respond to market returns. Small fluctuations begin to matter. Reinvested dividends start contributing real weight. The compounding engine is still warming up, but the feedback loop is active. These years match what researchers often call the noticeable phase, where your curve begins bending, even if slightly. The final 3 years reflect the scaling effect of exponential growth. When your base is heavier, even average market returns produce significant changes in your portfolio. A single year at this stage can add more dollars than your first 6 years combined. This is why long-term investors who stay the course appear lucky or unusually successful. Their advantage is not timing, it's endurance. The 8-4-3 rule captures this journey in a simple rhythm that aligns with both behavioral finance and market mathematics. Understanding this rhythm helps you approach investing with realistic expectations, removing the frustration that comes from thinking your slow years are unusual. They're not unusual, they're required. And once you internalize that, compounding stops being confusing and becomes predictable. So knowing all this, the real question becomes, how do you apply it to your own money in a way that actually works? Applying the 8-4-3 rule begins with accepting the natural rhythm of compounding rather than fighting it. The first step is committing to the full journey, not the immediate results. Promise yourself that the first 8 years are meant to feel slow, and that your job is to stay consistent, not to feel rewarded. Once you accept that, you release the pressure that makes most people give up. The second step is strengthening your structure. Automate contributions so you never rely on motivation. Use tools that help you review your progress monthly, not to chase results, but to ensure your habits stay aligned. The third step is adjusting your contributions over time. Even small annual increases, 5%, 10%, or a portion of each raise, dramatically accelerate the middle and final stages. This is how you add weight to your curve so the last 3 years can truly bend. The fourth step is simplifying your portfolio. Broad index funds, global diversification, and steady contributions outperform complexity over long periods. You don't need a perfect strategy. You need a durable one. And finally, protect your compounding engine from emotional decisions. Don't pause, don't withdraw, and don't chase shortcuts during the flat years. Understand that discipline during the invisible stage creates freedom during the acceleration stage. When you apply the 8-4-3 rule to your money, you stop asking, "Why isn't my wealth growing?" and begin trusting that the quiet years are building the base for the years that change everything. And before we close, let's bring everything together so you can see the full rhythm clearly and understand how each stage fits into your journey. When you step back and look at the 8-4-3 rule as one continuous rhythm, everything we've talked about begins to make sense. The first 8 years are supposed to feel invisible because that's when compounding is building your foundation, not your rewards. Your contributions carry most of the weight. Your returns feel too small to matter, and your curve is almost flat. But this isn't failure, it's structure. This is the phase where you learn discipline, consistency, and patience, skills every wealthy person mastered long before they saw their first real leap. Then we enter the middle 4 years, the period where momentum forms quietly. Your base is larger now, your returns have more weight, and your money finally begins working with you instead of against you. These 4 years don't feel dramatic, but they do feel different. You start to notice the shift, even if it's small. This is where emotional stability becomes just as important as strategy. It's the stage where confidence grows, not because of the numbers, but because you begin to trust the process. And then the final 3 years arrive, the acceleration. This is where the curve bends, where the growth becomes undeniable, and where your patience pays you back. These years reward every decision you made when nothing seemed to be happening. But you only reach them if you protect the habits that got you here. And the beauty of all this is simple. Once you understand the rhythm, you stop fighting your progress and start moving with it. Compounding isn't supposed to feel rewarding in the beginning. It's supposed to test you, shape you, and prepare you for a curve that only appears to those who stay long enough to earn it. The 8-4-3 rule is a reminder that slow doesn't mean broken, flat doesn't mean failing, and quiet growth is still growth. Your job isn't to rush the curve. It's to position yourself so the curve has no choice but to rise. Remember, this video is for educational purposes only and does not constitute investment advice. It is important to conduct thorough research and consult with financial professionals before making any investment decisions. The value of investments can fluctuate, and past performance is not indicative of future results. Always assess your risk tolerance and investment goals before allocating your capital. And if you found value today, I highly recommend watching my next video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Also, feel free to leave your comment below. I appreciate your support. Until next time, stay consistent, stay patient, and stay winning. See you in the next one, Money Magician.